Hello everyone, my name is Christina Pitts and I'm an occupational therapy student at the University of St. Augustine. Today I will be discussing pediatric occupational therapy, what that is and what that may entail for you and your child. Before we begin, I just want it to be noted that I am a student and not a licensed practitioner. I'm going to begin by giving you a definition of pediatric occupational therapy and discussing what occupations are as it relates to childhood. Then I will discuss treatment sessions or the occupational therapy intervention process to give you more of an idea of what it will look like from when you come in for an evaluation to when you start treatment sessions. Okay, so let's begin with a simple definition of pediatric occupational therapy. Simply stated, pediatric occupational therapy focuses on helping children develop the skills they need to grow into functional, independent adults. Occupational therapists work with children, their families, caregivers, and teachers to promote active participation in activities or occupations that are meaningful to them. What exactly are occupations? That term may be unfamiliar to you. Well, to help explain it, I'm going to use a definition I found on a Facebook page called Harmony Road Designs. The definition is as follows. O is for occupation. Occupation is a vintage term for meaningful activity. Occupational therapists help clients to participate in occupations meaningful to them as independent as possible. I think this definition really captures the idea of occupational therapy, wanting to promote independence and help clients participate in activities that they enjoy doing. So for children, occupations are activities that enable them to learn and develop life skills to be successful in preschool and school activities, be creative and experience joy through play, and thrive by being able to be independent through self-care and forming relationships with others. Occupational therapists help with developmental needs, educational needs, injury-related needs, and emotional behavioral needs. Primary occupations for infants, toddlers, and young children are playing, learning, and being interactive with caregivers and eventually their peers. Occupational therapy interventions address developmental milestones, including assistance with movement to sit, crawl, or walk independently, learning to pay attention and follow simple instructions, develop the ability to eat, drink, wash, and dress independently. These are known as ADLs, or activities of daily living. Learning to cope with disappointment or failure for emotional regulation, reducing environmental stimuli such as noise for a child who is easily distracted, building skills for sharing, taking turns, and playing with peers. Occupations for older children and teens involve education, forming and maintaining friendships, and beginning transition to work and more independent higher education such as college. Occupational therapy interventions for these age children include adapting and modifying curriculum, the environment or activities to support participation in educational routines, navigating more complex social relationships, assessing skills needed to learn to drive, or assisting with alternate community mobility options such as bus and learning how to navigate a bus route, vocational planning and transitions, so for work, and transition to college time management, study habits and routines, and independent living skills are all addressed. So now that you have a better understanding of pediatric occupational therapy as it relates to occupations, we'll discuss more of the intervention process. So the intervention process begins when a child or adolescent is referred to occupational therapy due to a specific diagnosis, such as autism, cerebral palsy, or Down syndrome, or because he or she exhibits a particular functional problem, such as poor fine motor skills or poor attention. So occupational therapy provides a holistic or client-centered approach, meaning the therapist takes a look at the whole person and creates an individualized plan of care with the assistance of the family or caregiver. Principles of client-centered intervention include assessment, team interaction, intervention, and lifespan approach. So with assessment, the child or adolescent and family concerns and interests are assessed in an open interview. The child or adolescent and family priorities and concerns guide the assessment of the child. Team interaction. Child or adolescent and family are valued members of the intervention team. Communication is child and family friendly, and relationships are valued. Intervention. Child or adolescent with caregiver's guide intervention. Family may choose the level of participation they wish to have. Family and the child or adolescent interests are considered in developing intervention strategies, and when appropriate, intervention directly involves other family members. Lifespan approach. As the child transitions to pre-adolescence and adolescence, he or she becomes the primary decision maker for intervention goals and activities. So the occupational therapist focuses on using interventions to enhance the child's performance. They do this by optimizing the child's engagement. Occupational therapists want the child to be interested in the activity and want to engage in the activity. They need the child to be attentive, focused, and calm. Occupational therapists optimize a child's engagement by using a sensory approach and providing social-emotional supports. So by using a sensory approach, the occupational therapist may use deep touch or rhythmic movements to elicit a psychological response of pleasure to engage the child. Different ways to do this include joint compressions, hugging, and swinging. By providing social-emotional supports, say by relating to the child on a personal level, this helps to promote self-efficacy and motivation. The occupational therapist then prepares the child to participate while establishing a therapeutic relationship through trust, showing a positive affect, respecting the child's emotions, showing personal interest in the child, and seeking opportunities for personal connection. The occupational therapist wants to provide a just right challenge when choosing intervention approaches, meaning the activity matches the child's developmental skills and interest, provides a reasonable challenge to current performance level, engages and motivates the child, and can be mastered with the child's focused effort. So for instance, consider stringing beads. If a child has, say, a 1-inch bead and they're trying to string it on a shoelace type string, and they're having difficulty that because they have poor fine motor skills, the occupational therapist may choose to give them a pipe cleaner to string beads on until they get stronger at that task. What that does is provide more stability so the child can be successful. The occupational therapist also wants to provide supports and reinforcements that encourage practice. By doing this, they help the child be successful. And by providing supports and reinforcement, that means that the occupational therapist just gives the child what they need to be successful. And lastly, the occupational therapist supports the child's transfer of newly learned skills across the environment. They do this by educating parents, caregivers, and teachers. So that's all I have about pediatric occupational therapy. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to your occupational therapist. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.